Hey, thank you for tuning in. I've been wanting to do this video for a while on what to look for when selecting a coin for a coin ring, and also the best places to buy them. I'd also like to point out that what you see before you is just part of my inventory just for coin rings. Okay, let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is set a price line. In other words, a price that you're not going to want to exceed, assuming you want to make a profit anyway. Let me give you an example of the prices I set for myself. You can always set your prices at whatever you want to. Starting off with Morgan dollars or Peace dollars, I won't exceed $30 on those. Moving on to Standing Liberty quarters, $8, and Barber quarters, $8 as well. Barber half dollars, $15. Walking Liberties and Franklins, I stick around 12 bucks. Keep in mind, these are my max prices, but oftentimes I pay a lot less for these. Let's start off with the big dog, the Morgan Dollar. Okay, basically what you're looking for on the Morgan Dollar grade-wise is very fine, extremely fine, AU, which stands for about uncirculated or almost uncirculated. And I try to avoid uncirculated Morgan dollars, and I'll tell you why. Because it's a waste of time and money, as far as I'm concerned. Let's take a look at one here. Okay, this is a 1921, which is actually the most common. And far as the AU goes, what you're looking for when selecting an AU coin is just above the ear, you'll see a little bit of wear. And then on the reverse side, you'll look for that little bit of wear in the breast feathers. And guess what? That's the part of the coin you're going to be punching out anyway, so it really doesn't make a difference. You seldom have a problem with the strikes on the Morgan dollars. More or less what you're looking for is you're looking for any damages, like deep gouges that are going to show up on your final product. Also, any damage to the date, the stars. You just kind of look over the rims of the coin and you get a good idea. All of these that I'm showing you, I think, are extremely suitable for high grade Morgan dollar coin rings. So let's just have a look here. I'll show you a couple of these. Give you a good visual of what they look like or what I look for. And this is kind of the bottom of the barrel far as grade goes that I look for. But still, you got good detail in the reef and the leaves and the wheat ears up here. It's extremely adequate. Okay, that about does it for the Morgan dollars. Moving on to Standing Liberty quarters. These things are the most difficult for me to find in a condition that I like to make coin rings in. Okay, so let's take a look at what I look for. First thing I look for is nice, clear dates and a good strike. And how I tell a good strike by these things is the "In God We Trust." And that's a lot more difficult to find these things in that condition than you might think. Also, I look for separation between the letters and the rim on both the front and the back. And that is a good example. Let's take a look at a couple more. And even there you can see some of the letters starting to go into the rim. That's a nice strong one right there. But like I say, it's not that they cost so much money, it's just finding them in the condition that you need them in is a little difficult. Here, I got one set aside here for an example. The date's okay, and you can see that In God We Trust is getting kind of weak there. There's still good separation between the letters and the rim, but then we take a look at the reverse, and you can see how the word quarter has already started to go into the rim pretty heavy, as well as the stars. So, it's good luck and happy hunting, but that's kind of what I look for on that. Oh, also, I wanted to mention that far as using a 3/8 inch punch on these things, that kind of gives them an inherent weak spot. And where that weak spot is where the shield meets the wall, that little corner right there. And I can seldom get this thing past the size 7 without splitting it. So my solution to that is I use a larger size punch. If I use a 1/2 inch punch, that gets rid of that weak spot, but it makes the band fairly thin, which makes for a very attractive women's ring. So anyway, that's kind of what I look for on it. Actually, the reverse on this is very nice. But I have fewer of these than any of the others just because I have difficulty finding these things in this condition. Anyway, that covers that. That brings us to the barber coins. The same rules that apply to the $half also apply to the quarters when it comes to barbers. The grades you're going to want to look for are good and very good. All other grades you're going to want to disregard because when you get into the higher grades, the AUs, extremely fines, and so forth, the price starts rapidly climbing and it's out of range. These things can go up into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars in the higher grades. So don't worry about getting a full liberty on a barber because it's not going to happen at that price. Also, another unique thing with the barbers is the strike on the reverse. They're notorious in these particular grades for most or all of the detail to be worn off. So they're really, really tough to find with good reverses on the barbers. But that's kind of what you want to look for if you're looking for a two-sided coin ring. So let's have a look at some of these barbers. We'll start with the quarters. And this is kind of what I look for. This is what it looks like. These are all good or very good. And you see we got full rims on the reverse, nice detail. Virtually all my barbers are that way, but it took me a while to find these. These are beautiful. But more often than not, you will find bad reverses than you'll find good reverses. Just be patient, take your time, and you will be able to find them. And the barbers just happen to be the easiest coins for me to fold. And there's a look at the quarters. Let's take a look at a couple of the $half. So anytime you find them in these conditions, you're doing good. It's a very nice $18.99. So they're out there. You just got to look for them. On the Walking Liberty half dollars, I give the widest range far as grade goes because the 1940s are really easy to find in AU and extremely fine at extremely reasonable prices. However, you start getting into the 1920s and the earlier Walking Liberties, and you got to make some sacrifices to get a reasonable price on those. So let's have a look at some of these, and I'll talk about them for a minute. Oh, here's one right here. Now, the strike on these, I always try to look for a strong strike. This here is an example of a very weak strike. You look at In God We Trust, and it's almost unlegible. You can't read it. But right there. So I kind of look for nice In God We Trust, or I usually disregard it. There's seldom a problem with the reverse side of these coins. They're all pretty strong, and there's no problem on the reverses. So let's have a look at some of these others here. Now, in the 1940s and some of the 1930s, one of the things I look for besides Nice, Strong, and God We Trust, which this one has here, also look and see if I can see the outline of the breast. If I can see the outline of the breast, it's usually a good coin for me. Because you see the outline of the breast, you can see strong stars. And like I say, the reverse is seldom ever a problem. These are some from the 1930s. Here again, you can see full outline of the breast. And they got nice dates. And here's 1941, Nice, Strong, in God We Trust. 1943, this is an extremely fine. It may even be an AU, but I'd say at least an extremely fine. Nice looking coin. Now, what I mean by making sacrifices here, if you take a look at some of these older ones, this is what you want to look for. Here's 1927. Now, the skirt lines don't look so hot, but it's got a nice strong strike. It's got a nice In God We Trust. And this is a 1927. And so even the stars show up pretty nice on this. So what you're looking for on the older ones is a strong strike, but you're going to give up a little bit on detail on these. There's a 1927. It's a nice example of early Walking Liberty for a coin ring. Here's another one, a 1917. Nice, clear, crisp date. Also, a nice, strong In God We Trust. The stars show up really nice on that one. But you're giving up a little bit on detail to get the earlier dates. But these are also difficult, but they're out there. Okay, that about covers the walkers. Now, last but not least, the Franklin half dollars. The Franklin half dollars, I gotta admit, most all of these I've gotten out of junk silver, as well as my Walking Liberties, actually. So the Walking Liberties and the Franklins, I get most all of them out of junk silver. You just got to know what to look for. Now on the Franklins, what I look for is I make sure that none of the lettering is going into the rim. When it starts going into the rim, I pretty much automatically throw it back in the junk silver pile. So you want to look for one that has a nice strong date. Lettering isn't going on the rim, on the reverse or the obverse. And far as this dirt and stuff you see, don't worry about that. That stuff's going to come off in the annealing process. So let's take a look at a couple of these. There's 1958. Nice reverse. And then here we got a 1959. It's in good shape. These are perfect candidates for coin rings, but this is kind of what I look for. Looks like someone went over that one with a Brillo pad. There's a nice 1957, also in junk silver. I'd say that's an AU right there. A little bit of gum on that, but that's no biggie. Don't worry about toning or any of that other stuff. Just worry about a nice strong strike. There's a 1952. These are one of my favorites to make simply because the way the date appears on the ring. It's really cool. I really like these a lot. 1958. These are in great shape, especially for junk silver. Now, granted, I have to go through a lot of junk silver to find these. Here's even an early one, a 1949, in great shape. Also junk silver. These aren't too complicated. You just gotta watch for the letters going into the rim for the most part. And make sure that all of your coins are, problem free as far as gouges and things like that go. 1953. Now, the only tough one on these period is your 1955s. That's considered pretty much the key date of the series, and you can still get 1955s at reasonable price, anywhere from 12 to 15 bucks. They're available, but you're not going to get them at junk silver prices. So anyway, that about covers the 6 basic coins that I like to work with. Now, something else you want to look for on Franklin's and some of these others is sometimes you walk into these coin shops and some idiot will have carved their initials in the bell. Well, actually, that's a blessing to you because, you're going to punch that out anyway. So kind of look for things that destroy the numismatic value, yet still make excellent candidates for coin rings, and it'll allow you to pick them up on the cheap. Now, let me show you some other examples of what to look for. I'm going to show you a few coins and see if you can't tell me what's wrong with these. Okay, there's that one. Here's another barber. Here's a Walker. Full breastline and everything. And here is a 1896 Morgan. Now, I picked all of these up on the cheap. In fact, this Morgan I only paid $20 for. And the problem with these is these have been polished. They virtually destroy the numismatic value by polishing them, but it's perfect for what you need. So always look for polished coins, and sometimes you'll even find coins with holes poked right in the center, if you can believe it. And you can get these things for virtually junk silver. So that's something you want to look for, is things that damage the numismatic value, but don't affect what you're doing with the coins themselves. So anyway, polished coins is a good tip on that, what to look for. That brings us where to buy. I've got 4 different resources for you of where I like to go shopping for my coins. One is the local coin shop. Usually it's the most expensive, but you don't want what they have in the case, because what they have in the case is not a very good deal for what you're looking for, usually. If you explain to them what you're doing and what you're looking for, let's say you're looking for damaged coins, or that have damaged centers, or that they've been polished, and they understand that, then oftentimes they'll go back to the safe and they'll see what they have and see if they have anything that meets your criteria. The other thing is their junk silver boxes. Go through all of their junk silver. There's all kinds of good deals in those junk silvers. So there's the coin shop. Then there's coin shows. You may have to travel a little bit to get to these coin shows. But the point is that you got dealers competing against other dealers. You got people trying to unload all kinds of coins at coin shows. So it's worth the trip sometimes. And then finally, well, not finally, but then you got eBay. Now, the one caveat on the eBay that you want to look for is you want to make sure that they have pictures of both the obverse and the reverse side of the coin. It's like I was explaining about the barbers. The front side might look perfectly reasonable, and the back side might be completely worn off. And if they only show you a picture of the obverse side of the coin, then you're running a risk there. So just make sure they have pictures of both sides, and you can find great deals. And then finally, this is kind of a little tip that I stumbled upon, and that's these places that buy and sell gold and silver. One day I went into one of these places, asked them if they had any coins, and they presented me with 5 Morgan dollars. And these Morgan dollars were pre 1921 and extremely fine to AU condition. And I picked those things up for $15 a piece. I mean, that was just an unbelievable deal. Now, you're not going to run into these deals all the time, but it makes it worth putting on your list and checking them out. Anyway, I hope you guys got some kind of value out of this. And if you did, please give a thumbs up on the video, and peace out, guys.